New York, the most populous US city, includes 42 islands and has its share of hauntings. Here are two of its more well-known presences. Liberty Island. Sailors and harbour workers alike have long attested to the unearthly sounds emanating from the Statue of Liberty on Liberty Island in New York. Resonations like spirit rappings are heard as night sets in. The simple explanation is that the eerie groans and hollow knockings signify the contraction of the huge copper plates comprising the figure as the air becomes colder. But there is also a darker story around the base of the statue. Captain William Kidd was a Scottish privateer seaman licensed to loot enemy ships in wartime. He settled in New York and was active in establishing the original Trinity Church there in 1700. Although commissioned by authorities, his rough and ready ways soon earned him the title of pirate, and he was reputed to have buried a stash of his looted treasure on the island where the Statue of Liberty was later positioned. It was then known as Bedloe's Island and a notorious pirate hangout. Kidd lived in a house on Pearl Street from where he was able to keep an eye on the island and its secret cache. Historians confirm that treasure may indeed be there, and fortune hunters have searched for Kidd's loot over 3 centuries without success. The legend has evolved that Kidd is a guardian of the statue's pedestal, and that the treasure may be protected by some powerful spirits. William Kidd was hanged for piracy in London in 1701. Nearly 2 centuries later, in 1892, a New York Times article reported the experience of 2 soldiers stationed at nearby Fort Wood. The 2 men, named Gibbs and Carpenter, consulted a psychic to try and locate Kidd's treasure. Following her instructions, they began digging in a particular spot on Bedloe's Island at the next full moon. In a very short time, their shovel struck a wooden box, followed by the uncovering of a skull. As they bent to retrieve the objects, a terrifying apparition rose up from the hole. Although the men's stories differed slightly, they agreed that a being like a horned demon arose, cutlass in hand, and glided menacingly towards them, breathing sulphuric fumes into their faces. Carpenter fled while Gibbs stood frozen with fear, later claiming that the ghost then flung him into the cold waters of the bay. On the men's later return, both the being and the wooden chest were gone. Whether the apparition was Kidd's ghost or that of another pirate, it was intent on guarding the possible treasure. Kidd's ghost has also been sighted at the Trinity Church yard, seeming to search for the grave he should have been buried in. Manhattan. Built between 1880 and 1884, the Dakota Apartment started off as a lone building in what was then an empty area of Manhattan Island, now known as the Upper West Side. As well as featuring in the film Rosemary's Baby, the Dakota is best known for Beatle John Lennon's tragic demise there. There is a litany of hauntings of the building, but Lennon's presence has been reported several times. The first sighting of his ghost was in 1983 when composer Joey Harrow and writer Amanda Moore spotted the musician standing at the front entrance of the Dakota, in the very spot where it had been targeted 3 years previously. Harrow reported that Lennon's apparition was encircled by an eerie light, and Moores said that she wanted to approach Lennon, but the somber look on his face dissuaded her, as if he was in no mood to communicate. New York psychic Shawn Robbins says that she also has seen Lennon's ghost inside the Dakota building. Lennon's widow, Yoko Ono, continues to live in the Dakota building, and on one occasion saw his ghost sitting at his white piano. She says he turned to her and reassured her, "Don't be afraid, I'm still with you," before disappearing.